We've visited over 30 US states in our Airstream and traveled over 30,000 miles.
And we've recently toured more than 50 different types of rigs, from not only other Airstreams, but other travel trailers, fifth wheels, A classes, B classes, C classes. We even looked at vans, all because, well, we got a little one on the way, and we wanted to make sure that it really made sense, the rig that we're living in.
We decided we would start to put together a list of our favorite things we loved about the Airstream, and maybe some things we kind of hated about the Airstream.
But make sure you stay to the end, because we're finally going to let you know what we've decided about our rig. We'll start with the things we kind of hate. D, what's the first one?
The very first thing we do not like about Airstream is that it has a very low clearance. It sits a lot lower than other RVs in the market, which means you've got to be a little more cognizant when you're pulling out and in of driveways, gas stations, some campgrounds that have a particular slope to them, and especially when you're boondocking off-grid.
Number 2, the Airstream is not known for storage. So it's not as bad as it could be, but compared to the fifth wheels that we looked at, the A classes that have amazing amounts of storage in the undercarriage of the unit, our Airstream has none of that. And with baby on the way and us already being minimalists, we just are simply running out of space. We know that we're going to have diapers and we're going to have strollers and we're going to have car seats and all of the things. And really our Airstream, it's going to be tight. And so when we consider the space and the storage with some of the other units that we've seen, it really doesn't compare.
Number 3 on our list of hates is kind of a catch-22 because we absolutely do love the aluminum finish on the Airstream. But because it is sensitive in nature and can be costly to repair, it's just something you need to be cognizant of. For instance, if you were to get caught in, let's just say, a hailstorm, you're going to be the Airstream driving down the road with all of the dimples.
And we've actually seen this happen to an Airstream. When we were in Denver, Colorado, we met a really nice couple that had a matching Airstream and truck to ours, but their Airstream had gotten hit with a serious storm. And they just were keeping their Airstream all dimpled up because A, it was going to be difficult to find somebody who could fix it, and B, they were waiting on the insurance to decide if it was really worth it. So it definitely is a little bit on the sensitive side.
Also, another consideration is when you're backing into campgrounds. While some campgrounds have adequate space, others are a little snug. So it's going to be extra important that your spotter outside is looking out for tree branches and the like so that you don't run into your Airstream.
And scratcher, because that would be sad. The fourth thing on our list, if you come into our Airstream Classic, you'd really be shocked and probably kind of impressed by how much space it has in general. But what it doesn't have when you compare it to the other RVs that we've toured recently are slide outs. And they make a really big difference in space. That being said, they also make a difference in your risk factor. One of the things that Matt at Matt's RVs told us was that for every slide out, you're increasing your risk of something going wrong times 1. So fifth wheel with 5 slide outs, 5 times as likely as something to go wrong. But the space is amazing. And the units that we've seen, slide outs allow you to have king size beds. It allows you to have a full-size refrigerator. Just lots more floor space. And especially with a little one on the way, you know as well as I do that it's going to be walking and crawling sooner rather than later because time is going to fly. And there's just not a whole lot of floor space in our Airstream as it stands today.
So if you're on the hunt for square footage, then Airstream's probably not going to be a good fit for you because something with slide outs is going to provide so much more space. Now, number 5 on our list is definitely something that Lauren is a little more passionate about than myself. And that is that it's missing some of the residential amenities that you would find in much larger rigs.
So some of the fifth wheels that we saw, even some of the travel trailers, have full-size washer and dryers.
Yeah, they were nice.
I think that is one of the number one things that we've heard people tell us that we're going to want with a new little one. And then we've even seen rigs, especially in the Class A's, that have dishwashers in them.
They're nice too, right?
They're so cool. They're pull-out drawers, and because of the space in the Airstream, none of them come with that as a built-in feature. Now, that being said, I have been doing a little bit of research, and you can add them as upgrades, not through Airstream, but with a third party. You can actually modify them to have some of that. We know for a fact that there's no way that a washer and dryer is going to be fitting in our unit. But those are really, really nice, especially when you're thinking about full-time RV life and having a kid or two in the RV. Those are some pretty serious drawbacks that the Airstream doesn't have that some other rigs would.
While you can wash everything by hand, the larger your family gets, the more you're going to learn to hate washing the dishes every day, day in and day out.
Are you kidding? We hate washing the dishes now.
That's so true.
Okay, so those are the top 5 things that we kind of hate about our Airstream. But on the flip side, there are a lot of things that we love about her too. And to start, as we're pretty into Wanderlocal, what's the first one, Dee?
The first one is that Airstreams are made in the good old USA. And they've been made in the USA for over 90 years. The first factory was built in Culver City, California, with the new center being in Jackson Center, Ohio. And everything is made by hand by what I would consider like artisans here that are literally putting everything and assembling everything by hand. And you can tell the craftsmanship is top notch.
Truth. We've been to Jackson Center twice now. We've had great experiences with working with their team. Their company, just as a whole, is a really wonderful group of people.
And you can tell they're super passionate about what they do, which shines through, really, when you see the finished product.
We love that about Airstream.
Number 2 on our list of loves about Airstream is something that, honestly, until recently, we didn't even know existed in the RV space. Number 2 is because of the quality build and because of all the aluminum finishes, you don't have
dust ferries. Before we met the Switch It Up team a couple of weeks ago, we really had no idea that with a lot of RVs, there is just dust that shows up in your rig like every single time you move.
We go somewhere, there's sawdust every time.
How does that happen?
I don't know. It's like there's a sawdust ferry or something. It just shows up. They understand if they've been in the RV life.
We didn't really understand what this was all about at first. And they even said, oh yeah, y'all probably don't experience this with your Airstream. And we really don't. But apparently when they move their rigs and they come back in and get set up for their campgrounds or wherever they're boondocking or whatnot, they'll find like dust, like wood chip type dust around their rig, and it's simply just kind of due to the craftsmanship of the cabinetries, but it kind of never goes away, so we've been told.
And honestly, up until recently, I hadn't even considered the fact that when you have wood frame construction RVs, you're always going to be susceptible to termites as well, and we had never even considered that.
The quality is a huge deal. And sure, we saw a lot of beautiful, high-quality rigs with the Newmars, the
Prevo, right? Absolutely mind-blowing quality.
They're also significantly pricier than our Airstream. So if we were going to keep the quality that we get with our classic Airstream and move into a new rig, well, we're going to be paying for it. The third thing on our list that we really love about our Airstream is that it holds its value. Granted, it's still a vehicle on wheels, so it's not a more traditional investment, But compared to the other RVs in the market and driving them off the lot, and the value that you lose on day one is just significantly less. Most of that is because Airstreams live on forever. If you get a regular box trailer or fifth wheel, often their lifespan is less than 10 years. We've even heard of campgrounds not allowing you to bring in an RV that's older than that.
70% of all Airstreams ever made are still on the road.
Ever made. That's insane, and they've been around for 90 years.
Now, let's not sugarcoat this. The RV market is super red hot right now, but we honestly expected the value to depreciate over the year that we've had it, when in fact, it's actually appreciated and worth more than what we even paid for it, which is mind-blowing.
And we have talked to other friends who have fifth wheels, travel trailers that aren't Airstreams, and they've seen the same, just because the market has changed so much. But we know that the appreciation associated with our Airstream likely won't change as much as the other types of RVs will. So that part is kind of hard to beat.
Number 4 on our list of things we absolutely love about the Airstream, and this is probably one of my favorite things. There are so many windows. Literally, like in our 30-foot Airstream, we have 19 beautiful windows, and what that does is it brings in so much natural light. So while we don't have the space of a lot of larger rigs, we have that openness that comes with all the natural light just pouring in continuously.
As we toured other rigs, tons of them have a lot more space, but when you start adding in those residential appliances, you need walls that have flat backs, and it just means you don't have as many windows or as much wall space for them. That's something, and one of the biggest reasons why we fell in love with the Airstream to begin with. We didn't want to just be on the road and feel like we were at home. We wanted to get to feel like we were part of the environment in the outdoor areas where we were camping. So the windows on the Airstream, oh man.
It was a huge selling feature for us. I mean, honestly, when we were looking at new RVs, some of the bedrooms looked like they had like small, tiny portal windows with just a little bit of light peeking through. And that's not what we wanted. We wanted panoramic windows with panoramic views. Number 5 is its timeless design. And I remember as a kid seeing an Airstream going down the road, and I just thought it was the absolute coolest thing ever. I thought, what is that spaceship looking thing getting towed down the road? It is so cool.
And with that timeless design, she's super aerodynamic. So when we talk to other people about looking at other RVs, one of the first things that they said is, just know that your Airstream is really easy to tow because of how aerodynamic it is. A lot of other RVs are boxier, they're not as heavy unless you really start going up the chain.
And they get kind of bumped around in the wind a little bit too.
Totally.
Yeah.
So that classic design, as iconic as it is so functional. And Airstream is also really known for today, not only the quality, but having a more modern look and feel. Sure, we found other RVs that had a look and feel similar to what we have today, but again, we're talking about price ranges that were in the $300s, $400s, $500,000 range and up to get to that point. Our Airstream, even if you bought one brand new today, retails under $180.
Now that you've heard us sum up all the things we absolutely hate about our Airstream and all the things we absolutely love about our Airstream, the question remains, are we going to keep it or are we trading it in?
So we've decided at this point that it just simply makes sense for us to stay put with our Airstream today. Is it a perfect solution? No. Are we going to miss the storage that we could have had with a fifth wheel or a Class A? Heck freaking yeah.
Are we going to potentially change our mind 6 months to a year from now when we've got a little one running around here? Maybe.
And we're definitely going to have to make some modifications to how our setup is today. So if you're curious about what those are and you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, make sure you do that. Ring the little bell to get notified when we've got new videos coming soon. because we've got some truck mods that we absolutely need to do. We've got some Airstream mods that we're planning on doing to make some changes around here. And hopefully, with all of that, we can set her up to be as family friendly as we want her to be for when baby Fernandez comes soon.
Let the adventure begin.
But make sure this week, Wanderlocal, my friend. It's good for the soul.